Hey folks, before we get to the episode, I want to invite you to this month's International Directors Meetup, our monthly gathering of directors and theater makers from around the world. It's a space to share experiences, trade advice, and find support in what can often be a pretty isolating role. You can come and go as you need, drop in late, leave early, whatever fits your schedule. It's simply a chance to set aside time each month to sit alongside others who understand the work. For dates, times, and details, head to boardofdirectors.world and pull up a chair at the table. Join the board. Lagartijas Tiradas al Sol. Lizards lying in the sun. There's something quietly radical about the image in their name. Attentive to warmth, time, and survival, but also vulnerable, exposed, and capable of getting burned. Luisa Pardo and Lázaro Gabino Rodriguez founded Lagartijas Tiradas al Sol 23 years ago, and their work was the first theater I ever saw when I lived in Mexico. It didn't just shape my understanding of what theater was there. It embedded a sense of what theater could be everywhere. What struck me then, and what continues to resonate now, is the patience it takes to build a shared artistic life for that long. To remain in relationship, to stay vulnerable, to keep listening as the world changes around you. Their work is deeply political, but never abstract. It's rooted in lived values, long-term collaboration, publishing, teaching, and sustained engagement with communities often far from the centers of power. They don't simply make work about the world, they practice a way of living in it. In this conversation, we talk about founding a company together, the emotions and friction of working side by side for decades, and the responsibility of making work that is accountable to real people and real histories. This conversation is generous, grounded, and quietly fierce. This is my conversation with Lagartijas Tiradas al Sol. Luisa, Lázaro, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It's very rare that I get to speak to artists whose work I've seen over the years, but have never actually interacted with. The way that, our business works is usually we know everybody that's out there in some way, shape, or form, but I've seen your work a couple of times and never been able to meet you. And I really appreciate coming on the podcast, sight unseen to this weird guy who asked you to be on the podcast. So thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. We are so happy to be here.
So I've seen your work, and I've really looked into it a lot and read a lot of your writings. And you have a very particular voice and ethic. When you look back to when you started the company or when the idea of making work together, what necessity did the company emerge from? Maybe not just aesthetically, but personally and politically for each of you.
It was more or less 2003. And we were on school, theater school, and we started working together and we made a piece because we were really like feeling that something on school was not just fitting. We were not fitting on school. It was related with a very good factory, como factura
like a very good
very well
quality.
Very well done pieces, and we were in front of this hierarchical system, but there was something empty on those pieces, but also and in the system of how the actors, we were in the
like the last
step of the pyramid, because yes, in this hierarchy there is a great director and the dramaturgy and the producer, and then the actors, we were just like, you have to to play my discourse, and you have to be happy with that, and you need the tools to feel my speech, but you have not to think or maybe you can, as actor, you need to, as actor, to say something that you don't want to say. And for us, that was like, we are not agree with this system. And we thought how we can also as a political citizens, like people from this country that is very unequal, how we can write, think, and made our pieces since the beginning with this political place of enunciation.
Yeah, was in the early 2000s. So for us, of course, that was our perception at that time. And at that time, when you are 20, you have a very particular way to frame the world and to frame the others and so on.
Yeah.
And it's a very unfair way in many ways, but at the same time, it's a very, very powerful moment in every artist's life. This moment that you have the feeling that you are really discovering your life, discovering the profession, discovering everything, and at some point inventing something. And then when you grow up and you look retrospectively, you have different feelings about what you did and so on. But at the same time, what Luisa was speaking, it's in the core of our production, this idea that it's something that it's wrong, let's say, in the way that theater it's produced, and our spirit it's somehow how we remediate this. At least for our group, Luisa and I start the group both as an actor, but we never envisioned in the beginning to write pieces or to be dramaturg or to be director or playwright or whatever. It was more the necessity or how we put forward what we think. And that was the core of our theater. And also because that was the time where I don't know, there was this economic moment when you call the bank and then someone attend you, but that person was in another country, and all these dynamics, economical dynamics that deals or that led to this lack of responsibility, that no one is responsible for anything. Because you talk with a person that you know that he don't even work for the bank. He don't even know the city where the bank is. So then this idea of who is responsible, who I can shout to say like, where's that other? Give me a fucking answer. And all this idea of how the owner of a company, then the corporations and the boards and so on. So this idea of how as artists, we become responsible of what we are saying on stage. Like there's no other, there's no director, there's no drama, there's nobody. It's us. You like it or not, got it or not, want it or not, this is what it is. And we are the only responsible of this.
But also talking about economics is how we can do a play with the budget that we already have, that always is very small, but this is really talking with the context, because at that time these great directors waste a lot of money, but not also money, material and
time
and all this waste is storage in UNAM, in INBA, in these big institutions that pay for these great pieces of great directors. And all that money and all that material is just storage there just after the season of the play. And we decided that why we must follow this system that is wasting money,
producing garbage.
Producing garbage. And for us was really a political decision to start with the few money that we have and that we can carry with the piece in baggage. That's it. And if we ask something for to the venue where we will perform, is something that is already done, like a chair, a table, or something that is already done, and we don't have to put anything else on the planet, to take out of the planet and to put on the garbage. And more or less is how we work also with the ideas, because we have one idea and we write a piece and we build this piece. And this piece just open new ideas and is something that is already on
motion. Yeah, because in the very beginning, Luisa had a more contact when we were students with this idea of Latin American theater, of group theater. For if someone is listening that don't know that, there was a very strong tradition in Latin America in the 60s and the 70s of groups that make theater together with a very strong political stance. And in the 80s and in the 90s, this idea of groups was a bit on decreasing or going down, let's say.
Yeah.
And Luisa really pushed forward this idea of let's make a group. And this idea of the group also changed a lot our approach to the work, because then it shifts from this hegemonic way of producing theater, that there was the director that called some actors that he needs for this specific piece, and then another actors because the next piece is in whatever, it's the house of Bernarda Alba, so then he needs woman, and then so this idea of we are a group of people that go through the different processes, and through the years you build something else that is not just theater pieces. It's theater pieces, but at the same time is something that it's beyond that it's like a way of trying to relate to the world and to try to relate, to interrogate reality and so on in a group of people.
But also being care of the connections, personal connections. So we decide to put in front of everything the humanity. Like, we are people, we have feelings, we have interests, and this is something that we must take care of. We have to take care of the people, and also the ideas of the people, and also how we are changing and growing as person inside this group. So the questions in Lagartijas Tiradas al Sol, always we have this feeling that always the questions that starts a project, these questions have to be really personal and deep, and ¿cómo decirlo?
Yeah, like really intermingled with the life of the person somehow, because that's what gives us, let's say, some kind of fuel. Because after this first piece that we made in university, that was called Esta es la historia de un niño que creció y todavía se acuerda de algunas cosas. I don't know how to translate that. This is the story of a child
who grow
and still remember
some
things, yeah.
Just both of us. And then another people start to join the group, like Francisco Barreiro, Mariana Villegas, Juan Leduc,
Marcela Flores,
Sergio
López Vigueras,
César Ríos. Well, a lot of people joined the group. And these things that Luisa was talking about how to take care of people and so on, because it's possible that this sounds a bit corny, or that everybody, somehow we all talk about this, but at the same time, when we have 22 years of the group, and at some point we said, like, as Luisa said, the only thing you need to maintain a group is the only, you need a bit of the things that going well, because then otherwise people get a bit, I don't know, sad. But at some point, you need to take care of the people somehow, and of us also, and people that take care of us, and so it's a really this idea of how to make a group and how to approach the creation, the theater work from the perspective of the group shift a lot the position from where you create, no?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't sound corny at all. It sounds ideal. It sounds. I'm sure it's not ideal. 22 years. I'm sure there's a lot of years that were not ideal, but
Yeah.
It sounds beautiful. I mean, it's as an idea, as a societal idea to work towards a group effort, a collective effort of things. So, I was going to ask, did you have? You talked about the 60s and 70s. Kind of precursors to this. Did you have contemporary companies or contemporary artists that you were looking at to say or were you having to reinvent a theater company when you started to make it? Or had you been reinventing it all along? Do you have anybody that you've been looking at to say how did they do it or how did they go wrong when you were in these 22 years?
Totally. No, we were as Newton said, we are stepping in the shoulders of giants. No, but at the same time, yeah, because Luisa knew this company Cuatro Tablas that is from Peru, and then we went there. We speak with the people there. Then we met Yuyashkani, that is another historical group from Peru, very very important. And also in Mexico, there were a lot of people that inspire us and also teach us a lot, like Teatro de Ciertos Habitantes, La Máquina de Teatro, Teatro de Línea de Sombra. There were a lot of groups that really show us somehow the way of doing it. And also abroad, but this, when we start, was in the beginning of internet. So we were in love somehow with companies like the Wooster Group but just because we see some photos, not because we knew a lot of how they work. It's just this seems very cool. But we don't have access to see much of the work and so on. But I think, yes, we get a lot of inspiration from other people, also La Rueca.
And also when we start to travel and we have the opportunity to see the work of these main companies as Rimini Protocol or Angelica Lidl or Rodrigo Garcia, it just opened our minds. But also we realized that in Mexico, at that time, there were a lot of discussions. For instance, they said from our work here in Mexico that we were not doing theater, that they don't know what we were doing. We were doing something that was not theater. But when we just start to travel and we have this opportunity, we realize that this discussion was just already totally just erased of the table. And also the role of the woman in this hierarchy. And for me, as artist, but also as woman, I was really shocked to know that Mexico was really much macho than I thought. We have a lot of anecdotes about that, but to see this other kind of work really just give us not only a signal, but also the power of say yes, we want to seguir trabajando, remain working, and because sometimes the context was really aggressive with us.
And also because this idea of if you are a whatever, you are a young person, young artist that want to be a filmmaker or to want to be a novelist or whatever, you go to school and you can learn from your teachers, but also then you go to the library and then, okay, my teacher said this, but I can read Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or whatever you want, and then to compare what you are learning from the history of your own discipline. But the fact in theater is that you don't have this possibility because you can see the theater that it's in your city. If you had good luck, you have a big city. If you have better luck, you have a international festival. But this idea that you need to to believe a lot in what your teacher says in theater, because you don't have this possibility to compare with other parts of the world, and less with another times, of course. So then for us was very important to go out and to see different kind of works, and that really helped us somehow in believing in us. Because at some point, what a young artist needs in the end is believe in yourself. And it's very difficult to believe in yourself because also there's a lot of systems of validation. But this idea, when you see some artists that goes in their own path, even if it's not the path that you want to follow, it gives you strength. It makes you strong. You said like he can or she can follow her view. We can follow our view. And then that was quite important for us.
I love that because obviously young artists, as you said, like you saw the Worcester group and you saw pictures and there was no like context of how they did that. But I went through my Worcester group phase. I went through my phases of of imitation. As a young artist, we do tend to lean into imitation until we find our own voice and our own belief in ourselves and the strength to go, actually, what I have to say and how I want to say it is cool and unique to me, and people will want to see that. I don't have to be imitating that. You talked a little bit about this before, following the interest, the group interest of a project. But what comes first? Is it a question? Is it a situation? Is it a community, a document, a discomfort? How do you know when something is worth building a process around and toward for production?
We went to a residency on last November, and we were working in a piece, very incipient, about Venezuela. And Lázaro had a lot of ideas around. Somehow I have the feeling that ideas was more out of him than in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a lot of questions about these ideas, and I don't know, we start to dig in, and we realized that ideas was really, in fact, out of, it was just here and not here in the heart. So I don't know, each project has their own way, its own way, but there's something that have to be very, very like emotional, but also like something that that is, ¿cómo decirlo? Como que that when you think about this gives you emotion, happiness. ¿Sí? ¿Me explico? ¿Cómo piensas?
Yeah, no, I think it's like this. Yeah, it's like somehow, and of course there's a lot of like parallelism when you meet, you don't know how you fall in love, but at some point you are in love somehow. And then it's more or less like this, that this emotion, that this, that something that gives you energy. But also, that's also something that we have been working for this all these years. And of course, we have been through different phases, because I think in the beginning, our first projects were projects that we want to put a lot of things from the reality into the stage, that there's a lot. And then, I don't know, what do you think? But when you start to grow up, then the interests start changing. I think I'm a bit I'm very concerned about the mechanisms of the shows, let's say, about how the fiction will work in this particular show, or how we will present this to the. So sometimes I have the energy, let's say, from these ideas, from a formal idea, that I like to do this. And then we find the interest there. But what I think also, because I'm agree with what Luis is talking about, it's at some point, or maybe all of our shows came from the piece before, that we are thinking about something, we research about something, and at some point in the piece there's something that is not solved, but a door opens, and then this door, we follow this path, and then we end up in another piece that at some point open another, so more or less, no?
And maybe the word is something that is amazing for us. Like when we are working in this project and we just say like, oh, this is amazing. This topic or this mechanism or this aesthetics or something that just give us this good shock. So we decide to follow that, and maybe it can sound easy, but our work is not, when we are working, when we are doing research, we always have fights. Like we have a lot of argumentation, and because we are really opposite. But there are more of the members of Lagartijas that are more relaxed than us, and they just make easier the mood. But we fight a lot about ideas, but also aesthetics. And this is passion for, I don't know, maybe is, for me, it's better to work apasionadamente, with passion, than do a lot of pieces that maybe have this good aesthetics, but there is nothing that connect with my real inspiration or something.
Yeah, I think in the end, everything is about the energy that you try to create for you, for your life, for the way you work, and this passion that Luis is talking about is this energy. And just to go back a bit to this idea that you were talking about, to produce with little money and so on, because I think this was a decision also that came from this idea how we take care of this energy that opens. We all know this moment when you are with a group of friends and then someone said like, oh, let's make this. And everybody's like, yeah, no. So this energy that you build in one moment and everybody's just like, yeah, it would be very cool. And no. But then this idea of okay, let's wait. We are going to apply to a fund that opens in April, and then you have so this idea somehow broke the energy.
Yeah.
So the idea to produce with almost nothing is this idea of how we kept this energy, because then if we don't need anything, we can start working tomorrow in this idea because we don't need so much. Of course, and we are talking about with some degree of privilege, of course, because then we have the opportunity to, we don't have a family that depends economically from us. We don't have debts that we need to pay and so on. So from this, but also the idea of the group, it's something that helps you taking care of the energy, because now we are touring with one piece, if things go well, and then we are receiving money from this piece that is touring. So then we can start working in another piece with no salary, because people are getting something from other place. So then it's something that everybody knows that it went well, it goes well, we will have more work in the future. So it's like this rueda, how do you say, like wheel, the wheel that it's, so the idea in the end will be to keep the energy of the wheel, keep the flow of the wheel, and how you protect the wheel that don't get stuck, and
Yeah. That's I talk to many artists who talk about the restraints end up becoming the aesthetic. That the things that we don't have end up being what defines who we are.
Absolutely, yes.
In a very, I mean, a very poor theater aesthetic, but that goes, no, that's what makes us us, is the fact that, I've never had a lighting designer. So I just had to learn how to be a lighting designer for my shows, or a scenographer for my shows. And it wasn't because I wanted to be that, it's because those were the constraints that I had that defined my aesthetic, and my shows looked the way that they looked because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you started talking about that you fight a lot, which is great. That passion that keeps the project moving forward. How do disagreement and friction function inside of Lagartijas? Like, what happens when an artistic intuition, an idea, and a political conviction doesn't quite align? How does it become tabled like, oh, that's an idea we can pick up later? Or is it like, I like the kernel of that, I like the seed of that? How do we move forward?
I think that most of the time we put this disagreement on the piece, inside the piece somehow. Maybe as a question, maybe as a little scene where the characters just fight. We have this anecdote, really. We were in 2009 something. We were in the process creating with 6 people. We were 6 people, and we were just doing the piece. And during a rehearsal, we just start to fight. Everybody against everybody, a big battle. Was really horrible. The people from the theater where we were doing the rehearsal just was like, oh my God. And after 2 days that everything was just slowing down, and we decided to put this fight inside the piece because it's a very good, ¿cómo dices? Como cosa dramatúrgica, a very nice climax. But also because it's reality. You know, that if you are doing something, sometimes it's better to open the process inside the piece and to be honest and say, like, it's not easy to be agree. It's not easy to have a political certainty. It's not easy, and it's not good also. It's better to have questions, and it's better to have opposite points of view, because the world just open. And the people, that audience, can also think about this. Because if we defined a scene just saying what we are thinking, way, people maybe just say, yes, I am agree. But if we open a question with a fight or with a discussion, or people can say, like, what I am thinking about this and why I am thinking about this in this way. And I don't know, I think that to be honest in the link between the process and the piece is really enriquecedor.
Enrichment? No, more rich.
It's more rich for the object, artistic object.
And also, to add to this, I think there's something that intuitively we made that at some point is good to ceder, to
let it be.
to let to don't fight for your own point. So the opposite, like to leave your point. Because there's this phenomenon, for example, in film festivals, that is very common also in theater groups. I will explain. So the idea is that there's a group of people that watch 10 films. So she like one a lot, I like one a lot, you like one a lot. Then, but all of us, I don't like yours, she don't like yours, she don't like mine, whatever. But everybody, we all more or less like another one, a fourth film that is not our favorite. So usually in film festivals, this idea, it's the film that won or that win is the one that nobody likes a lot, but nobody hates.
Right.
You know? So this idea of consensus, it's very dangerous in group artistic decisions, because at some point you end up with the meh choice.
Yeah.
So one choice that nobody likes. So at some point when you see that someone really sees something that I want this, even if you don't like it, I think it's good to say, like, okay, let's go for this.
See what happens.
Because at some point it has more energy it's a more energetic decision than the one that said like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
So it depends on the project, on maybe also the topic. I don't know. In Central America, for instance, the play,
Our last piece.
piece.
Piece you're working on, yeah.
Lazaro was really into these plastic carpets, and we need the plastic carpets. And okay, let's use the plastic carpets. But then I said, like, we don't need a table. We don't need to put a table on stage. So we have some decisions that are like maybe authoritarian, like authoritarian decisions. But there are others that lie like that, and we fight a lot, and then we decide how to deal with these discussions. But yes, I think that we always prefer to leave the questions open than to say the truth.
I love this idea. I'm gonna steal this idea of the film festival. That's exactly, yes. The consensus is the killer. There's an adage in art. Yes, exactly. Not in society, maybe, but in art, yes. That camel is a horse created by a committee.
Exactly. That's the same idea. Yes.
And it's like, yeah, we tried to get a horse, but we ended up with a camel. We ended up with the fourth best film of the year. I love the including of the fight in the piece as well. And there's so much of your work that is meta theatrical, meaning the blur of like, there's times when I'm watching it where I'm like, is this real? Is this fiction? Is this biography? Is this a moment that they're stepping out and addressing us completely? Where do you locate the ethical line between using existing material, biographical material, and being accountable to it with your own self? Where can you talk about the ethics of that? Because I love the blurring of lines, and also the sense that this is a documentary. A lot of the work is documentary style as well.
I think that for the first, the decisions on the stage has to be safe for everybody. The team that is working on the stage, but also the person that we work for testimonies, for research, interviews, everything. It must be safe and also taking care of the humanity, the ideas, everything of the people. This is the first step to take a decision. But also, I think that this is something that Lazaro has very well done. He talks very good about this, but I just want to say something else. It's about how fantasy fiction let us open reality. And this is something really valuable, really beautiful, that we don't have to forget as artists. Because when we are working on reality, we have the possibility of the fiction. And the fiction opens the history and gives us this beautiful landscape of another end.
Yeah, no. And we start working before, in the beginning of the internet, and this in this wave of reality invading everything, no? The Big Brother, first Big Brothers, these reality shows and so on. So we're very present when we start working. Then after the years, for example, there was this year, I don't know, 2016 or something, or 14, when post-truth was the word of the year. And then we have Donald Trump, and then so Donald Trump's second term. So it's the relation with reality and what is real changed a lot. And I think also our approach in theater to this idea of what is documentary, what is real, what is not. There were a lot of people working in this before us. Of course, we know them, but at the same time, I think now we somehow reclaim this idea of this place that is an exception from reality. Like when you go to the theater, you know that you are not looking the reality itself, because there's a tradition for many centuries that the person that said that I am Hamlet is not Hamlet. So that's the main agreement of theater. Even if we broke up this agreement in the last decades, that someone said like, my name is Adam on stage, and actually he's Adam. This idea of exception, I think it's more productive somehow than to try to put theater in the same rules that all the other spheres of reality. This old idea that people, we want to be fooled somehow in this space, not in the political realm, not. So we keep working in theater because of this feeling that is the place to do this, is the place that we don't know what is happening, and to ask ourselves, that was real, that was not. Because if we let the ethics of the documentary colonize the theater, I think we lose as theater, because we have we are the exception, we are like the dreams. Nobody is responsible about what he dreams. It's like these jokes, like the wife with the husband, and the wife said like, hey, have this whatever dream with some other people, and the husband get jealous and said like, we are not responsible of what we produce in the dreams, and we're responsible in theater what we produce as a representation, not as the fact that it is. So we are responsible of whatever. If we stage a rape of a person, we're responsible of staging this, but we are not responsible as rapers, let's say, because it's obvious it's very obvious what I'm saying. But so for us, the ethic line is to try to do the magic trick somehow. It's like magic. When you go to a magician, you know that it's not happening, but we all enjoy with the trick. It's not that someone said like, oh, what the fuck, the rabbit was not in the... We know that what we go to the theater to see is to the trick, to see the trick. But also, this is very important in contemporary theater, in contemporary society, with all these politics of representation, that we then can talk a bit about this later, because I don't know.
I have something to say about this, because sometimes when we have this really tiny line of ethical responsibility and people can't ask themselves, or what are they doing? We try to, us as characters on the play, to be not only good as characters. So we put ourselves in a difficult situation that can express the real situation in what we are as artists. I don't know if I explain.
No, yeah.
See? And I don't know, yes, it's also to put all the scale of gray on stage, because sometimes when we work with reality, we try to fight for our ideal, and this is good. But sometimes to fight for the ideal on art, we have to open the possibilities. And if you talk about white and black, it is not easy to open possibilities.
And that's also... ¿Quieres seguir?
No.
And that's also why for me, and I think for us, it's very important to have a clear line between the realm of art and between the realm of activism, because not everything can be material of art. And in my idea, for example, if today the difference, because if someone tries to convince me today, 30th of January 2026, that ice, it's a good way to deal with the... So I will not be interested in hear the arguments, because I already know that arguments, and I don't care about that arguments, and I have a really clear forward view of the topic and of the point, and I don't want discussion, and I don't want doubts, and I don't want to open questions. So that would be not for me a fruitful material for art. And also in activism, what I value the most is when the activists, when us have a very clear stance. It's not that we want to take different versions of if it would be good that women have abortion right. No, we know that we are right. We think that the other guys are wrong, and we're gonna fight for what we think. And in art, it's different, the approach. It's more when things that we're insecure, we don't know if we are right, we can put different point of views that we think are interesting point of views.
Maybe there is people that say that our work is a bit didactic, but somehow it's not all bad about didactics. Maybe it's good to try to explain and to ask Freire to open questions and and these questions just open the way. But there is something that I want to say about documentary that I lose before. For me, to use documentary is also related to a code and a language. It's also ethics, but we have a piece that starts with a voice of a narrator, and this narrator says like, this is fiction. What you will see is fiction. But at the end, the people just say like, oh, what documentary is this is a documentary. And this piece is the only piece that we use the cuarta pared, the fourth wall. And a lot of the actors' codes are really fictional. But at the end, the people recognize that there is something of reality here, and it's about the language of the documentary that we use.
Yeah, and this idea, it's also related with the ethics that you asked us before, because for us, documentary is more a language than something that it's in the core relation with reality or something. Yeah. More aesthetic than an ethic in a way.
Yeah, a framing device to
absolutely.
Get to it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Sí, total.
We have this idea of there's some things that in art are bad, some adjectives, like some words that if you receive it, is not a good thing.
Right.
But in my idea, it would be good to also question these things because yeah, it's also the thing with pamphlet or many different things that we receive it almost as insults. But the didactics in our work, it's because our process also is very didactic, because we a lot of times, also referring to another question you already made, a lot of our projects starts with this energy to know something that we don't know. And then, for example, one thing was when Luis arrived to live in Mexico City, at some years after, she said, like, why there's a lot of problems with the water, because there's a lot of lack of water in some neighborhoods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And why is this? Because if the Mexico City was founded over 5 different lakes, so it was a floated city, what happened? And then we said, like, we don't know. Let's start making this research. And at some point, we get a lot of in love. We fall in love with our research, what we discover and so on. And then we want to transmit it to the audience. And then we build up different devices, because then at some points we start making books that accompany, like goes hand to hand with the project. So then it's a way to deliver the research to the audience. We made at some points some videos. So are different ways, but yes, didactic, it's something that it's in the core of our approach to art somehow.
Yeah.
In the way we learn, we do the dramaturgy just to share as how we learn about the theme. And it's really important for us to share this surprise around the research.
I think owning didactic, I mean, if you could be effectively didactic, why the hell wouldn't you want to be? I mean,
yeah, totally.
It's the question I have with my students all the time of what is theater's purpose? I mean, there is the historical idea that ancient Greek theater, you would go to watch a play and then you would go vote. How do you watch Antigone, seeing effective conversation between Creon and Antigone, and not go, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Now I can go and vote. I can go be a citizen and see both sides. Like, if maybe that is what theater's job is right now, with all the fakeness, all the inauthenticity that exists out there. Theater's the only place that exists where a stranger can sit next to another stranger, watch something strange, and be pulled apart and go, I don't know. I see both points of view. Like, there's very rare that we have that anywhere in society anymore where I can actually sit with both points of view.
Absolutely. And this in times, or of course you know it, but just to mention it, in times of how the algorithms shape the world that we perceive, it's extremely important. So yes, it's something that the theater can make, and yeah, it's beautiful.
You mentioned this, and I want to dig further into this. What does publishing allow you to do that performance alone can't? You have a whole publishing section now on the website, but you have materials that accompany your work. What is it that allows you to do that you can't fit into performance? I mean, I'm perpetually talking about theater extending beyond the performance itself, that the moment we find out about the play 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, that's the production for me. So the fact that I can walk away with material, or I can seek out more material, is an idea, as an extension of that event. Where did you come across with that, and what are you finding with that?
Yeah, it's strange, but I don't know. At some point, we made a piece about the guerrilla movements in the 60s and the 70s in Mexico. Luisa's mother was a guerrilla woman, and she was in jail and so on. We made a piece about that. And we made this piece very historical. And at some point, we want to bring to the present the question of how we rebel, how is the rebellion is today. And then we asked this question for a lot of people, but at some point didn't fit into the performance, because we know was already very long, and then that was the first time. And then we made our next piece was about the PRI, the political party that governed Mexico almost 70 years on a row. And we have this huge investigation. And also we know that there's people that works very beautiful with the patience of the spectators, and how to include somehow boredom and very poetic ways of dealing with this. But we have these 300 pages of research that we knew it will not fit, or people will kill us. So then we decided to make this book. But this was an example of a procedure. We wrote this book, and at some point we decided that when people go to the theater, they saw the story of Natalia Valdés Tejeda, that was a woman, that was a teacher, and so on. And in the piece, we said, like, she wrote a book about the PRI, about the political party. And in the end, audience can find the book Natalia wrote, physically signed by her, but was not by her, was by us. But at some point, that was how to change the consistency of the experience of the spectator somehow. Yeah.
And also, the book works also as a character of the piece, because, and a metaphor, because the PRI found this libro de texto gratuito, this book, free book for the students since the beginning of the school. So the government brings to the kids a free book to learn story. What Natalia Valdés, our character, wrote is a kind of free book of history of El PRI. So we have this play with the book, not also as fictional, but also as
very concrete. Yeah, a very concrete thing. And also because the Pri wrote those books also in order somehow to control the narrative of the history of Mexico. And then Natalia wants to challenge this narrative that we want to make, etc. Yeah. And I don't know. And also we love books, and books are very beautiful.
You are.
And it happens also that one of our members, it's a designer, Juan Leduc, and then he designed a lot of books. And then one thing leads to another. And we are very...
And for me, it's important to say that also when we do research, we do iconography research also. So it's beautiful to share in a physical object this iconography, this como dices, texture of how the images looks like.
We are the same generation, roughly the same age, and as we start to get to become elders ourselves, as we start to think of ourselves as ancestors, what do you hope younger artists don't inherit from our generation, from our way of making? And what do you hope that they insist on carrying forward?
It's very, because it's a very generational thing, because we start looking at younger now some years ago about what they are doing, how they are doing it. I think at least in Mexican, but I think in the world, I don't know, but the younger people will face a complete different landscape economically, a very different way of dealing with everything. Now, when we start, was much more friendly to be a young theater maker than that is today. But at the same time, these institutions and this landscape that is beautiful and help us a lot to earn money, to sustain ourselves or whatever, also came with a lot of constraints, aesthetical constraints, a lot of validation systems, very centralized. And I have the feeling, I really hope that that horrible moment of disarticulation of institutions and disarticulations of estado de bienestar, like the wellness, and provided by the states, allows young people to go in different directions that we never had not only the courage, even the imagination to move to. So I think the next Netflix excitation of reality somehow allows the art to be more free. I think there would be, I think, I don't know, I hope no, but at the same time I hope yes, there would be like a broke of link with the commercial system for many theater. No, not of course not on all the theater, but I think that will allow new generations to work in different directions, to really have less respect from their predecessors, or somehow.
And for me, I think that it's important to keep going in the fight against violence inside the arts education, but also inside the relations of the workspaces, because sometimes the genius, the artist that feels that are genius, have these behaviors, violent behaviors. And also about gender, we know how for us as women it's not easy, but now it's easier than in the past. So keep going in this fight, and just don't look back.
Your current project, Central America, what's the status of it? Where is it touring? Where are you going with it? And what feels unresolved for you? What questions are you currently living inside as you do this? But also, as you said, the question for the next piece is already being born in the doing of this piece. Can you talk a little bit about where you're at right now and where you're going to be in a year or two from now?
For me, Centro America, we will be in San Jose, in Costa Rica, in Buenos Aires, Bilbao, and maybe in Paris this year. and also some cities here in Mexico. And we are happy with that because the situation in Nicaragua, especially, but also in all Central America and all Latin America, is not easy. All over the world, in fact. But for me, the questions, as Lazaro said, I am a daughter of a guerrilla woman, and I learn about communism and about very straight left-wing lessons. But what I have learned with the piece of Central America is that also left wing is doing really bad things for their societies, and that I start to research more about the heritage of this and the USSR, and it opens a lot of questions for me. But not only politics, also very private questions, and how I am changing my gaze about the other, because this straight way of see the life, see politics, sometimes just
like cloudy.
Give us a cloudy gaze to see the others. And for me, it's important it's not about consenso, it's not about consents, but it's about to be generous with the other way of see the world. And in that sense, this is one of the questions, but also it's about the big tragedy that is Latin America. Because not only the left wing, the right wing is really if we continue seeing the world as left and right, we will destroy the planet. So we have to dig into these ideas and to just trying to keep the good and just take out the bad, because the bad is really bad. See.
Yeah, and also because we are used to present our work in many different parts of the world, but at some point, the circuit we are in, it's very, and we are very aware about let's say the majority of the political stance that join experimental performances from different parts of the world in a festival.
Yeah.
It's very specific. So also we feel very interesting to talk about Nicaragua, that was a very left-wing revolution that ended up very bad. But at some point it triggers a lot of discussions, because what happened when this revolution won, that was really a hope for a lot of people of the world. And at some point in Venezuela happens more or less the same phenomenon. Like, was something that was really new, a lot of people goes with, and then became something that it's really dark in so many ways. But at the same point, what United States made with the invasion, it's a complete disaster. So it's some kind of topic that we like to address in a theater play, because it's not one way or another. It's like, okay, this new Monroe doctrine of Trump, it's a complete disaster, but at the same time, Maduro's government was a complete disaster. And in the middle, there's a lot of people in Venezuela that some are whatever. So this idea, so we are more or less trying to think about it, to think in different directions, and to keep going in these difficult times. Going back to the same, it's at least what you need, it's some sort of enthusiasm that produces some sort of energy. That's what allows you to continue working somehow.
I don't know if this is a question this is just a draft statement, rough draft question, but you brought this up. Can you make work from anger? Can you sustain anger in work, or does it need to be enthusiasm, passion in another way? Because I wonder in the United States, right now we're all questioning, like, what do we do around this? I'm an artist. I could go stand on the streets and I'll go do that. But like, what I have to contribute right now is my art. But I'm very angry. And I'm not sure if that art is good or that just feels good. But at the same time, like what you're talking about is the passion behind it.
I think that I personally made a lot of pieces very angry.
Yeah? Like,
Sí.
which one?
Pues, la del PRI, de Retiré, de Retiré y El Rumor. Esas dos, I think that that the good thing when you work with a group, but also in a research, is that you can put the anger in its place. You know?
Uh-huh.
Because if you only shout, you will not be heard. But if you do a dramaturgy around the anger, maybe it's easier to share.
Super interesting, because I think I had the very clear vision. I sometimes wrote texts like for blog or something, and I recognize a lot the ones that came from anger, and it's something that I can sustain because it takes me 2 or 3 weeks to make one of these texts, and I'm really just like surface stupid, but I don't know if I can sustain a theater process from anger, but it's interesting. And maybe it's necessary. A lot of people works from anger, like Angelica Lidl, and I think it's can be very productive in some way, but interesting.
But I think that is not enough.
The anger is not enough.
It's
Yes,
not
for
enough.
sure.
And you will be really tired
Exactly.
really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be angry, but also have radical optimism as well. Which
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm trying.
Or to be sad also.
Yeah.
You can be angry and sad and happy. So how you make a context for your anger?
It's very interesting because I was reading something about anger the other day, and the anger it's very connected with this idea that you get blind by an emotion, no? You get anger and then you get blind and then you hit someone or whatever. So maybe, just thinking out loud, you need to overcome the anger in order to make work about anger.
Mm-hmm.
Like you somehow, I don't know, because otherwise, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to think about this.
No, that's
The fight is more or less the fight that we have as a group in 2009, that we fought and then we said like, oh, what happened? Okay, we do a reflection and then we put the fight on on a stage, but there
with a bit of distance somehow.
Yeah, with maybe a distance and now dramaturgy around.
As we come toward the end of this, there's questions I always ask the artists that I have on, and it's really helpful for the audience. It's an international podcast. It is mostly obviously English speaking countries listening to the podcast. But who are the artists in Mexico that are inspiring you? Who are the theater makers that you like? Anytime that they're doing something, you will go and see it, or Central America, or just Latin America in general. Who are the people that you wish the rest of the world knew and got to see their work?
Well, there are many, no? I think there's from different generations, but I think that anytime that Teatro Línea de Sombra makes something, I think we follow them, or even younger generation like Ana Carsis Ramos, that it's young. I think it's someone that is very interested, but also Lola Arias, that it's someone that make already a lot of work that still makes some things that are quite interesting. People from Chile like La Resentida, people from Brazil like Janaina Leite. There's a lot of people making good work today. I think we're in a very, very good moment. Or also Victor Hernandez in Mexico, or Lucas Avendaño,
Laura
Uribe.
Sara Pinedo,
yeah. I think the problem we have now in theater and in everything is that there's a lot of things happening. And then that is very difficult to pin down and to order our brains, because there's a lot of people. Every year there's more people making work. And the other day someone was telling about this. The number of people that get graduated from theater school in Mexico City every year, and I think was like 150, and then was just like 150 each year just in the city.
Yeah.
And if there's one new venue in the city every 5 years, it's a lot. It's like so there's this moment of life, like the TikTokization of that there's a lot of TikTokers and you don't know who is who, and I'm not comparing to art, but this idea that we are a lot of people. And then the difficult thing is how to order ourselves and how to put attention to one or two things that you
how to platform those people when there are very few platforms. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Luisa, Azaro, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I truly, truly hope that we get to meet in person. I hope that I get to come back to Mexico and see your work there, but also on the festival circuit. I hope Central America is
hopefully
everything great and successful. I said before, I've truly appreciated your work since I saw Tijuana in 2019 at UNAM. And being able to live in Mexico and stay during the pandemic, which was 8 years in itself. So really get to enjoy a lot of your work online as well. El Rumor is one of the pieces, and to follow what you have been doing for 23 years, which is, as a theater company, is so very rare. So I applaud all of your efforts and want all the best and wish everything wonderful for all of you. All of the lizards.
Thank you so much, Adam.
And hopefully we will meet in person, but also hopefully world is going to be better than today.
Amen. If this episode gave you any insight, inspiration, or even just made you smile, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts for more conversations like this. And if you're looking for guidance with a creative challenge or want to advance a dream of your own, we'd love to help. Visit boardofdirectors.world. The Board of Directors is a global constellation of theater directors dedicated to building community, sharing knowledge, and transforming the role of the director in the 21st century. We convene and curate a fellowship that fosters mentorship, artistic inquiry, and collective care, transcending borders and institutions and traditions. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of each other.